hour or so. Sunny Side of the Dome is brought to you by Jays from the Couch. We stream live Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. In the off season, for now at least, we've decided to do every other week because there isn't as much to talk about. But I'm sure we'll pick that back up at some point. If you are following along live, we're on Jays from the Couch's YouTube channel, as well as Facebook page, Twitter page. And if you're following along live and you think of a question or comment, please do send them all in. I love that interaction. I really think it makes the show that much better. If you don't catch the live version, but you still are interested in what I had to say about the Jays, no problem. When you're ready for us, we're ready for you. You can catch us on any one of those aforementioned medium: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and just play the audio or watch the video, whatever you feel like doing. And if you like the content here at Sunny Side of the Dome, there's lots more where that came from. There's Jays from the Couch's main podcast, which is Monday evening at 6 p.m. That's hosted by Sean Doyle, senior editor, founder of Jays from the Couch. He's always got lots of great stuff in store. And the other YouTube show is the Unfact Circle. That's Tuesdays at 6 p.m. And that's hosted by Steve Feck, my very interesting colleague. And Steve has tons of experience working in baseball. He knows a lot. He's seen a lot. He has very unique perspectives. He's smart. He's funny. And I very often disagree with him. It's very noteworthy when he and I agree. But that's fine. Steve is always worth a watch and a listen. So if you haven't been checking that out, be sure and do so. The Unfact Circle, Tuesdays at 6 p.m. And happy Thursday evening, Blue Jays fans. How's it going? Baseball, Major League Baseball anyway, is finally over for 2021. Bittersweet. I mean, the game that we all love to watch. We didn't get to go to the playoffs this year, as all of us Blue Jays fans know. I was watching the MLB postseason. I know a lot of other Jays fans were as well. And on that note, have to say congratulations to the world champs, Atlanta. In particular, a special congratulations to Alex Anthopoulos, former general manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. As we all know, he was the GM in 2015 when, after a very long drought, they finally brought playoff baseball back to Toronto and with the Blue Jays, and it was so much fun and excitement after such a long time. So now he's got a championship as a general manager, first Canadian actually to ever be general manager of a championship team. So great for him. Some other connections to the Blue Jays as well. Jesse Chavez, he used to pitch for the Jays. He's still out there kicking, believe it or not. Travis d'Arnaud, catching prospect, or he was a prospect when the Jays traded him away. He's still bouncing around this year. He was with Atlanta, so great for him. George Poulis, trainer, some other people. Noteworthy for me, even though they're not with a major league team, but in the organization as minor league coaches, a couple of my favorites, Devin Travis and Michael Saunders. So to all of the above, congratulations. Freddie Freeman played for Team Canada in the World Baseball Classic not that long ago. It was in honor of his late mother, who is Canadian, and I believe his father's also Canadian. I think I read that somewhere. So soft spot in my heart for him. Whether you like that team or organization or not, he's spent his whole career with them. So I kind of have to appreciate that loyalty to one team and one organization. And hopefully that's something that we'll see from the Blue Jays over the next little while, with some of their young players hopefully sticking around long term, but that's to come. Anyway, so transactions, which I usually lead off with. Really, there haven't been much other than now that the World Series is over, players eligible for free agency are officially free agents. So basically, we all knew who was eligible. So on the player side, the position player side, the big one, Marcus Semien, as well Corey Dickerson, who they acquired in a trade mid-season, and Jared Dyson. And then on the pitching side, notably Robbie Ray, Steven Matz, as well Joaquin Soria, and a couple of pitchers that didn't pitch much or at all due to injuries. So David Phelps and Kirby Yates. So that's it. We've got 8 free agents, and see what happens as far as how many of them they bring back and what they're going to do and all of that. So for the heart of tonight's order, now that it is officially the off season, thoughts of next year are there, and what do the Blue Jays need to do to get to where they want to be, and how I'm seeing the off season, and how I'm hoping that things shape up. So that's the majority of what I'm going to talk about tonight. After I have some water, excuse me. All right, so number one on my own wish list, and really this should be number one on any baseball fan's wish list, is a new collective bargaining agreement. So the existing agreement expires December 1st. And there's all kinds of rumor and speculation as far as what's going to happen. A couple weeks ago, Mark Shapiro had his end of season press conference, and he said that from what he was hearing, he was optimistic that a new CBA would get signed by December 1st, and hopefully that still happens. Hearing some different things. So Ben Nicholson-Smith, he covers the Blue Jays, and he was also tweeting recently. So he's, of course, he's got connections in the industry and so forth, and he's hearing from different people that there is the possibility of a lockout. So if there is no CBA on December 1st, as opposed to what they've done at some points in the past, that they keep talking and trying to get a deal, and that eventually, if there's a work stoppage, that happens later on. There's talk that the owners could actually lock the players out in one day on December the 2nd. So that would, I'm not saying it's impossible, I don't know. It would definitely be a departure from what's happened in the past, but in a way, maybe that's a better way of doing it. I mean, December 2nd, they're not playing anyway, and at least hopefully that would give both sides, if they don't already have a sense of urgency, hopefully it would increase the sense of urgency to get a deal done. It's the off season. Players who are free agents, they're looking for new deals, obviously. Maybe some teams are looking to trade certain players. They have different needs. They want to add, they want to rebuild, they want to unload payroll. There's lots of different scenarios there. So if there is a lockout and a transaction freeze on December the 2nd, hopefully it will super motivate both sides and they'll get a deal done. So again, going back to Ben Nicholson-Smith, another tweet, he said he hasn't heard anyone predict that we'll lose all or most of the 2022 season. I've heard a lot of naysayers saying, oh, there might not even be a season next year, and I just tune them out. I mean, again, I'd lean toward the optimistic side, and I don't even want to think about that as a possibility. Sure, it could happen, but I want to believe that there's going to be baseball. I want to believe that all or most of next season actually does get played. I think it's going to be an exciting one for the Blue Jays, and I just want to watch baseball, as I think we all do. So anyway, yes, he was saying that some people believe a new collective bargaining agreement would likely happen in early 2022. And then once that's in place, then you'd see a rush of deals that a lot of people aren't really expecting. A lot of big deals in the month of November, which we just began. Now, who knows? It could go the other way. Maybe people really want to get things done before there's a transaction freeze, if indeed there is one. And yeah, maybe they just want to get things set, their own roster or whatever. So we could see a crazy number of deals this month. It'll be very interesting to see, and I'm sure we'll all be keeping our eyes and ears open for that. Anyway, so that's the CBA talk. Now, onto for me, the more interesting thing and the most relevant thing being about the Toronto Blue Jays. So, first off, what is their goal for 2022? To me, it's pretty clear. I think they're really going for it. I think they want to put themselves in the best position that they possibly can to win a championship in 2022. They didn't trade away two of their higher prospects in Austin Martin and Simeon Woods Richardson for basically a year and a half of Jose Barrios, who is then eligible for free agency if they weren't serious about going for it and winning. That's not the kind of move that you make if it's, well, we'd like to maybe get a wild card spot in one or both of these years and see what happens. Roll the dice once we get in. I think they're really going for it. So, music to my ears, very exciting for us Jays fans to know that is their objective or believe that it is. I really, really do believe that. So, if that's their goal, what are their needs? Let's look at the team. A year ago, I really didn't feel that the Jays were a finished product, even to start the 2021 season. And they made so many improvements in season. They parted company with guys that weren't working out and weren't helping them win. The personnel changed. They made some trades, brought in some guys that did help, called up Alek Manoah, who really probably did as well as anybody could have expected, and maybe better than most. He's a real find. He's a keeper. Knock on wood. Let's just hope he stays healthy. Maybe improves the pitch command a little bit better there. His stuff is good. So yeah, looking forward to watching him pitch for the Blue Jays for the next several years. So what are their needs? I think they're set in a lot of ways. I think they need two starting pitching. So starting with the rotation, as it stands right now to start the 2022 season, they have Hyun-Jin Ryu, Jose Barrios, and Alek Manoah. And all of those guys are, I'm calling Manoah an established MLB pitcher, even though he was just a rookie this past season. He had a strong enough showing to me that I'm counting him solidly in the mix. So they've got the three of them. They need two more. So they've got two free agents, Robbie Ray and Steven Matz. At this point, of course, nobody knows if one or both or neither of them will end up coming back. But they've got two spots that they need to fill. They still have Ross Stripling under team control for one more year. I'm glad that they have Stripling, and he has been used as a starting pitcher in the past. The Jays could go with him. Personally, I don't think that's one of their better options, especially if they're serious about trying to really go for it in 2022. Stripling was pretty inconsistent, in my opinion, in 2021. He really wasn't good. Made a mechanical adjustments, looked like a completely different pitcher, but then he needed to spend some time on the IL. And when he came back, unfortunately, I don't know if he still wasn't 100% healthy, but he kind of, the good Stripling seemed to be gone, and he wasn't all that great anymore, unfortunately. So for me, I feel like his best role would be in the bullpen as a swingman. So he can do some long relief if something happens. Maybe a starter makes an early exit from the game, or maybe you've got a situation where your short relievers have been used and they need some time off, so he can need some innings for you. As it stands right now, if you've got a rotation of 5 solid starters and something happens, somebody needs some time on the injured list or whatever, then he would be your first guy out of the bullpen to be added to the rotation, and hopefully he could eat some innings and give you some quality innings. So what are they going to do about those 2 spots? I mean, they could look again within their organization. They've got some guys that have pitched in the major leagues and have some potential. Thomas Hatch, Anthony Kay, Trent Thornton, and even Nate Pearson, Julian Merriweather. For me, if you look at that group between health challenges and just inconsistent results in Major League Baseball, there isn't one of them that I would be comfortable saying, okay, we're penciling you into our rotation for next season. I hope that one or more of them can have a breakout year and step forward and just kind of like Manoah did last year, be so dominant in the major leagues that there almost isn't a choice, or it's so dominant in the minor leagues, assuming that they start in the minor leagues, that there's no choice, that you have to bring them up type of thing. But I think for the Blue Jays to really contend, it behooves them to have 2 established quality MLB starting pitchers to join the rotation that they have currently. And excuse me for just a moment. Hello. Do you think it would be easier for the Jays to add via free agency or trades? Thank you. Very good question. I mean, there's challenges both ways. So to add by free agency, it doesn't cost you anything in terms of your farm system. You don't have to give up your higher ranking prospects or anything like that. All you have to pay is money. Now, depending on who the free agent is, if it's someone with a really, really good track record, it could cost you a lot of money. So that's a significant cost there. Also, the player has to want to come to the Toronto Blue Jays. And in the past, there have been some challenges about attracting free agents who weren't born in Canada, who have never played for the Toronto Blue Jays. Some of them, they just don't really want to play in a Canadian-based team. Now, the last couple of years, they have signed a few significant free agents, so maybe that tide is turning a bit. George Springer last year, to a lesser extent, Marcus Semien took the 1-year deal to rebuild his value, and boy, did he ever. And before that, Hyun-Jin Ryu. So there's challenges there. As far as making trades, again, the challenge is finding the right trade partner, a team that is willing to give up someone for quality, and then who will they accept in return? Well, will it be someone or a collection of players, prospects that the Jays are willing to part with? Hi, Alex. If you can find some starters via free agency, I'm good with that. But I'm still willing to give Stripling a shot to vie for one of the starting rotation spots. I still think he's capable. Just my 2 cents. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I want to believe in him. Honestly, I was, excuse me, I was very willing to do so last year after he made that mechanical adjustment and just looked so much better. It's like, wow, we've got ourselves a starting pitcher. And again, I don't know what happened last year when he came back from the injury. And, maybe he wasn't fully healthy. Maybe he kind of rushed himself back trying to help the team because they were in the wild card race and all of that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see it play out, but definitely a possibility. Excuse me. So yeah, as far as the rotation goes, excuse me, sorry. Honestly, I think my first choice, if they can manage to do it, would be to bring back the guys that they know, both Robbie Ray and Steven Matz. If they can find a way to do that, Robbie Ray's going to cost after the year that he had with the Blue Jays. And to me, he's got to be the front runner for American League Cy Young. So I don't know what kind of deal he's going to get in free agency. I mean, he'll get both money and term. The Jays can afford to do it. I hope they really make him a good offer, and I hope he stays here. So, I mean, he's had some success here. The Jays traded for him when he was leading all of MLB in walks, and not in the good way, in the bad way. And he really kind of rebuilt his career with the Jays. So I'd love to see him stay. Steven Matz, he's been inconsistent. He was good a fair bit of the time, had a better second half. So if the Jays could get him, if they make him a qualifying offer, who knows if they will, maybe he'd accept it for a year, or maybe they could sign him for a few years. Again, depends, but we'll see about that. So that's my hope. Two starting pitchers, and that's my first choice, honestly, is to bring back the two who are officially free agents now. Next on my wish list is the bullpen. The Blue Jays during the season, they had times when the bullpen was just a dumpster fire, and they did improve it during the season. They brought over Adam Simber and Trevor Richards, who were both still under team control. So the two of them, as well as Tim Meza and Jordan Romano, I think you've got a really solid foursome there. I'd like to see them add maybe one or if not two quality relievers, because and I don't think any of us Jays fans do want to see anything like we did at points last year when, yeah, the bullpen was just snatching defeat from the jaws of victory on a daily basis, it almost felt like. So what could they do that way? I mean, there's different possibilities. They have a few infielders in the minor leagues that had some really good seasons. Kevin Smith, Otto Lopez. So, I mean, maybe you could trade one of them to a team that has another Adam Simber or Trevor Richards that they're willing to trade away and to help out a contending team. So that's one possibility. There's free agents. And actually, some very interesting ones. I was just doing a search and making note of what's out there. A couple of, actually, a few former Blue Jays that have had really good seasons elsewhere. So Ryan Tepera, Kendall Graveman, Aaron Loop. Yes, that Aaron Loop. And then somebody else who actually just became a free agent today by declining a mutual option is Andrew Chafin. He was previously with the Oakland A's. I had a look at the four of them, and this is going a little longer than maybe I had planned, but they all had some really good numbers last year. So I'm thinking if the Jays can manage to sign maybe one or two of them, and yeah, knock on wood, they could and should be set with that. What are their other needs? Second base. Well, their second baseman's a free agent. I'd love to see them bring Marcus Semien back. I really hope, just like Robbie Ray and Steven Matz, I hope they can manage to do it. If they can bring back all three, then they'll be well on their way with the players that they've already got under contract or team control. So yes, Marcus Semien, that would be great. If he doesn't come back, honestly, I'm thinking if Kevin Biggio is healthy, slide him back over to second base. Defensively, he was pretty good at second base. I don't know about Gold Glove, but he was better than average, and he brings a lot to the table. He's a left-handed hitter. I know the Jays really want a left-handed hitter, and yeah, he did so many things right prior to this season. He really had a down season this year. To me, I don't believe that is the best that Kevin Biggio still has left in his MLB career. He played hurt for most of this season, and I think it really spilled over into his performance. I'm really looking forward to seeing Kevin Biggio healthy, hopefully this spring training, and to play for the Jays and see what he can do to help the Jays win some games. And then what else? The need that everybody talks about aside from pitching is what are they going to do about third base? So, I mean, they've got Santiago Espinal. I really, really like Santiago Espinal. I love what he brings to the table. Honestly, he just kind of came out of nowhere this season and did some really good things. His average was good. His on-base percentage was good. His defense as a third baseman was really good. And the only real knock on him as a major leaguer is he doesn't hit for a lot of power, but really, the Blue Jays have so many other hitters that are legit power hitters. If Santiago Espinal can hit for average, get on base, and play really good defense at third, I'm thinking that they can still win it all with him there. Now, he might not necessarily be the first choice. There's all kinds of rumors out there. Is Cleveland going to trade away Jose Ramirez, who's a very good third baseman, both his defense and his hitting? I mean, he's just one of the better players, better overall players in the game. Rumor has it that there were trade talks between Toronto and Cleveland in season prior to the trade deadline. Obviously, nothing happened there. Will they revisit that this offseason? They might, I don't know. But then you've got to look at the cost in terms of players going the other way. And there are certain players that I would give up for the right return. There are certain players, there's a handful of them that I really don't want to trade regardless of who's coming back, because to me, that's subtracting and you're compromising your opportunities to win. So if that doesn't work out with Jose Ramirez, there's other options. There's free agents. It seems to me like Chris Bryant is kind of on the downside of his career. Something tells me after he was traded to San Francisco that he may just end up staying and re-signing with the Giants. So there's that. Another possible trade possibility, lots of people have talked about it, written about it. I believe our own Sean Doyle was one of the first, if not the first, to actually do a piece about the possibility of trading for Matt Chapman, the Oakland A's third base. Gee, where have I heard that before? The Blue Jays trading for a third baseman from the Oakland A's. Matt Chapman, he's coming off a little bit of a down season with the bats. He was really only average overall with the bat. So who knows if that downward trajectory offensively is here to stay, but he could also bounce back. He came off some pretty big surgery. One thing that you can count on from Matt Chapman, he is pretty much the best defensive third baseman on the planet. So with the Blue Jays, who most of the time scoring runs wasn't an issue for them, and if anything, improving their defense at times is something that they really needed to work on. I think they got better. I think several players got better in season compared to where they were at the beginning of the season, but Matt Chapman would most definitely help defensively, and there could be some upside there with the bat. So if they could acquire him, and the acquisition cost in terms of players going the other way wasn't too ridiculous, that might end up being the best way for them to go. So lots of interesting possibilities there, and I'm sure all of us Blue Jays fans will be watching and listening eagerly to see what our team does, and hopefully it'll all work out. And on that note, that's almost all that I have for today, which brings me to 3 Blue Jays colored glasses, which don't seem to want to be on straight today. Anyway, so yes, staying with the theme, with the team overall, and what are they going to do to continue to move forward? I think back to Mark Shapiro and his press conference a couple of weeks ago. So he did mention specifically, and not too surprisingly, Robbie Ray, Steven Matz, and Marcus Semien. He said that the Blue Jays really like those players and that they're all players that the Blue Jays are going to pursue this offseason. So I like the sound of that. And then he went on to say, and I don't remember the exact words, but in a nutshell, they are not of the opinion that you have to get this one player or the offseason is a failure. And I don't think that's how they should think. I mean, we as fans might kind of have our hearts set on this guy or that guy, and I'm no exception. I've got my ideas as far as what I want them to do, and a lot of the time they don't do that, but they know better than I do. What Mark Shapiro said is that we are committed to getting better. And that's what we as fans should want. If we like our team, if we want our team to win, then we want them to get better. I think a good way of doing that is bringing back those guys that are now officially free agents. But you know what? If something doesn't work out, if one or two or God forbid all three of them end up going elsewhere, you know what? They'll find a plan B and a plan C, D, and E, and wherever they had to get to be successful. They'll figure something out. I have grown to really like and trust and respect the job that Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins have done since taking over. They had a depleted farm system. Sam Harvey, who do I want at third next year? Thanks, Sam. Good question. If we could get Jose Ramirez and the acquisition cost was at least reasonable, he's probably my plan A. But that again, there are certain players. There's a couple of high prospects, or Elvis Martinez, infielder, Gabriel Moreno, catcher, who looks like he could be a future superstar. I don't really want them to give up on either of them. And one player who I personally like a lot, whose name is always rumored in trade talks, is Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I don't want them to trade him away. So if Cleveland is saying we want Gurriel Jr. or there's no trade, then you know what? I'd rather that they walk away. I think somebody like Matt Chapman, hopefully, who having a little bit of a downside last year might mean that the acquisition cost is a little bit more reasonable, and then maybe he bounces back like his former teammate Marcus Semien. Anyway, I digress a bit. Basically, I trust Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins to get the job done. They inherited an old major league team who were basically on their downside, the majority of them, and a depleted farm system, and they turned it all around in the matter of a few years. They had to do a complete rebuild, and now the MLB team is back to being successful and a contender. Just one more game, and they would have been in the playoffs this year, and who knows? I think they could have gone far. So I have my faith in them for 2022. I think they're going to get the job done. I think come opening day next year that we're going to see a better team on paper than they are right now. And then it's just up to them to perform. So fingers crossed. On that note, that's all I've got for you for today. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let's go Blue Jays, and I'll see you again in a couple of weeks.